We are all damned, but do not think that makes us equal. I saw Chemos at the height of its glory, and was with the Phoenician in his moment of apotheosis. I walked through the fires of Isfahan and made a coat from the skins of my brothers. I am father to a new age of gods and monsters. I have seen and accomplished more than any warrior, and this pitiful excuse for a fleet. The weight of my destiny will crush the strongest of you. Welcome back again. This is Ave Dominus Noob, back again with another book review. And this is for all my beautiful, beautiful chaos cultists and all you stubborn, lovable corpse worshippers. And this time, we're diving into maybe what is the beginning of one of my favorite Black Library trilogies. This is Primogenitor by Josh Reynolds. But before we continue, please like and subscribe. There's more 40k books out there than surrogate bodies for Fabius, and you have to be there for the journey as I obtain this sweet, sweet knowledge and this sweet, sweet lore. Let's prepare to stand in midnight cloud. I usually review new books on the channel, or rather books I haven't read yet. My whole motivation was to be able to unload on people after I finish a book. Phrasing. I thought it would be fun to go back and start reviewing books that I've already read before. And any good book is worth more than one read, and that's why I've come back around to Fabius. He is literally my favorite character in 40k, and we're about to break down his first novel. Fabius Bile is the most kick-ass apothecary in the galaxy. He's been with the Emperor's children from the beginning, even before Fulgrim was found. He was there for the Great Crusade, the fall of the Emperor's children, the Horus Heresy. That's all in the past though. Fabius has broken away from his brothers and has surrounded himself with the remnants of the treasure leader apothecaries. This group is called the Consortium. There, he works on creating a new and better humanity, literally, while trying to stave off the incurable blight that killed all of his original brothers. Primogenitor starts when one of his old students, Oleander, comes back with a proposition and a plan to plunder an Eldari craft world. Agreeing to this plan sets Fabius on a collision course to confront his old legion and get wrapped up with more than just Eldar and craft worlders. This book is way better this time around, like Leftover Spaghetti or White Castle, but not nearly as cheap. Perhaps my listening comprehension is better than last year, and on top of that, the breadcrumb setup throughout this novel makes me think forward all the way to the third book. It gave a lot of events a sense of dramatic irony, because I can see how far away each setup actually stretches at the moment, and it's just very well thought out and written. Bile's the man with the plan, and he's just the most snappy, shit-talking, demon-denying father-teacher commander out there. His dialogue is so good and so hilarious at times that he's managed to dethrone Trays in the Infinite as my favorite character in 40k. I first met him in the Horus Heresy book Fulgrim. Back then he was, just the flavor of the weak mad scientist genius. And Fabius back then was even an interesting character to be sure, but his purpose in life was a bit more petty back then. Trying to improve upon the Emperor's work mainly, aka wantonly experimenting on his brothers. After all the events of 30k, Fabius changed. His goals, his idea of the galaxy, the way he moved and acted, his motivations all changed. He was never able to escape his past, however. It's a fact that he has experimented and modified the vast majority of the Emperor's children. He's looked at with hatred and mistrust by most of the galaxy. Most warlords out there want him in chains or want him dead, and Fabius couldn't, as a certain Iron Warrior said, give a green-skinned fart about any of that. I can't help but to be reminded of Rick from Rick and Morty when I think of Fabius. They have this same similar genius, holier than thou, even though there's no god vibe. It's like he's 40k Rick. But in reality, Fabius Bile predates Rick by like a lot, so technically Rick is Adult Swim Fabius Bile. So Fabius' major weakness I noticed, besides the blight, seems to be his disbelief in chaos and all their demons. I understand his logic to a degree. He's partially right. He believes the warp is this twisted reflection of our own mind, which is true, but he also seems to think that through power and controlling your thoughts, you could just dispel them. This is obviously not the case because he's been ran up on again and again by Slaaneshi demons with messages from Fulgrim itself. In addition to this, his staff is made out of a demon that he banished, and he uses it all the time, and the effects of it are very, very real. We'll have to come back to this again when we do the review on Clone War, but I just don't understand his denial. I'm going to talk about a few of my favorite side characters, and then we're going to move on to some spoilers. So Sakara might be my favorite side character this time. This is a word-bearer Diabolus that was captured by Mad Bill. Fabius installed many bombs and failsafes inside his body to keep him loyal. For the most part, Fabius just uses them as a weapon. My boy Sakara does have another purpose. He's here to argue with Fabius about the nature of the warp and the gods. They debate the nature of the warp for almost the entire trilogy, and it really is some of the most fascinating dialogue. Being an atheist myself, I can kind of relate to having these kinds of discussions with my friends and not so much friends, and I find it very ironic that I actually side with Sakara most of the time in this novel. Also, I can't leave out that Sakara is a raging badass. He keeps demons in like flasks around his belt, and he can summon them to fight or scout out, and just at will. And he can like listen to their whispers and gain insight on lots of different situations. Igori is Fabius's test tube daughter and matron of the new man, Fabius's planned replacement for mankind. She is actually another one of my favorite characters in the trilogy. I find that she really wasn't that interesting in this first book, honestly. I understand that this is just her introduction and that the character development that made me love her isn't quite there yet. She is kind of boring. Not boring in terms of her entire character. She just only has fights, none of which are particularly close, and she really doesn't even have much dialogue. The only character that talked less than my Glenhound Queen is Samiskis himself. We'll have to come back to Samiskis when it comes to the spoiler part. I love this part of the book I like to call the trial of Oleander. After he tells Fabius about his plan to raid a craft world, Fabius makes him present his plans to the consortium. They immediately don't trust him, and they only see him as spare parts. They immediately start calling dibs on his organs and body parts. I get his progenoid glands. I get his skin. Let me get his liver. Wait a second, he's an emperor's children. His liver is probably fucked. A member of the consortium is introduced here, Duco. He's a former Night Lord's apothecary, and he offers to split Oleander's brain with the others. It's actually kind of one of my favorite quotes. He says, "I'll have his brain, but I'm willing to share," Duco the Night Lord growled. "One bite apiece, what say?" He looked around. There must be something of value in that crooked mind of his, otherwise Fabius wouldn't have spared his life. Oleander tensed as the voices rose from the benches, harvesting him where he stood. Drills whirled and blades clicked throughout the chamber. Bile smiled at him. "You see how they've missed you, Oleander?" he said. "Have no fear. I'll not let Duco have your brain, nor any of the others. I have such interesting plans for it." It's just a small moment in the book, and Duco doesn't appear again until Clone Lord, but I'm always going to highlight any cool-ass Night Lords in the Black Library books. Savona was another character that I find amazing in this book. The first time I read this, I just saw her as another idiot counted in the ranks of the CSM. Savona is so much more than that, though. She's a Slaneshi, warp-mutated, bad bitch in power armor, and I think that she's the first non-Astartes I've ever seen be counted amongst their ranks as an officer. There's Lady Talarva from Harrow Master, but she was more of a specialist than a leader. The fact that she is what she is and managed to rise in the ranks of the Emperor's children is legendary to me. The Emperor's children are debatably the most debased of the Chaos Legions, crackheads, mad scientists, massive hedonists. Think about what she had to do to earn those fuckers' respect. Her background hasn't been revealed, and it's one of my favorite parts about her character. Then there's Arian. Oh, Arian. I love Arian because first off, he's a world eater. And in addition to that, he's FB's favorite student. Think about the irony of that one. Fabius's favorite student is a son of Angron, 12th Legion, and somehow he has the Manflayer's favor over his Mad Doctor brothers. Why is this? It's because he seems to have near perfect control over his butcher's nails. He uses a combination of chemicals sent directly to his brain to keep his impulses in check. He still lets them sing and goes on a rampage every now and then just to stay sharp and for fun. He fights with 2 phalanx blades and has the skulls of his World Eater's brothers, who he killed, of course, and they're like dangling around his belt. And he is extremely insane, and he can hear them talking, and he talks back to them in front of people. Arian is just so interesting. And what is a book featuring the Emperor's children if we don't get to see some Noise Marines? Now, if you don't know about the Noise Marines, you need to go read this book, and possibly Horus Heresy book Fulgrim. That way you can get the full richness of the lore here. Fabius started putting low rider speakers into Eidolon 10,000 years ago, and modern day he can still see his work in the Noise Marines. The Cacophony, they call themselves. They've become quick allies with Fabius, their father in a way, and become the major catalyst for Oleander's plan. I'm not gassing them up just because of the memes. The descriptions of the Cacophony are some of the best parts in the book. My accounts can't do them justice. There's just so many standout points in this book, and I don't have time to talk about them all, nor can I remember them. So I'm just going to talk about a few spoilers before I give my rating. If you want to go into Primogenitor fresh, I suggest you skip to the end of the video. Oleander. Oleander had a really bad plan. He colluded with the Harlequins, the biggest trolls in the galaxy, to knock off a warlord, Casparax the Radiant, and install Fabius instead. How could you be a follower of Slaanesh and trust any kind of Eldari? This is levels of hubris we've never seen before. I love Oleander's personality and the way he can break down people on a physical level, but he is naive. I don't think he's in the next book, but he has a world of hurt ahead of him. Good thing he's a masochist. Joke's on you, I'm into that shit. Bellwalker and the Harlequins actively struck me as the villains of this book. They're just so shady, and they're gaslighting and playing both sides, and they're OP in combat. I was definitely cheering against them the whole book. They have this rhetoric they spit all the time, that life is a play and everyone's an actor, and they are like editors pushing characters towards their destined ending. It just gives me this sinking feeling that the Harlequins are an allegory for GW editorial. The Radiant King did a great job of being the Slaaneshi flavored villain of the week. It's not that he was ultra compelling or anything like that, but he was a good approximation of what an EC warlord aspiring to be a demon prince would act like. He's dancing with demonettes and sitting on a throne made out of human twins. His ship, the Quasizod, is mutated to the point of almost being alive. And there's just so many old trophies and weird shit from old conquests. The EC got bored, and it looks like trays in the infinite sex toy storage. The Radiant King did a great job of being the Slaaneshi flavored villain of the week. It's not that he was ultra compelling or anything, but he was a good approximation of what an EC warlord aspiring to be a demon prince would act like. He's dancing with demonettes and sitting on a throne made out of human twins. His ship, the Quasizod, is mutated to the point of almost being alive. And there's so many old trophies and weird shit from old conquests and shit the EC got bored of that it kind of looks like trays in the infinite sex toy storage. His getting focus fired and annihilated by the Craftworlders was very anticlimactic, and it's one of the main reasons I didn't really like the ending the first time, but it is what it is. Not everybody can be an Eidolon or a Lucius the Eternal. I didn't care that he died because, like I said, it's not that he was that compelling in the first place. It just seemed like their assault on the Craftworld was pointless. Then on top of that, Samiskis got killed. And I didn't even talk about him, but he's another member of the Consortium. He's an Iron Warrior that was cultivating human brains to pilot his formidable group of battle automata. He's mostly a silent, stoic character, and the only one to stand with Oleander during his trial. Probably a bad idea considering he died over Count Sunflame's bullshit. The Chief Apothecary was none too happy about that either, and he abandons Oleander. You can tell that he has a soft spot for his old student because he probably should have killed him, which is okay because Ole's still in for that world of pain I talked about. But the joke's on you, he's into that shit. The ending was cool. Shit went down on the Craftworld. The Craftworlders got smoked. They came back in bigger numbers, fucked up the Radiant. The Harlequins show up and the EC gets smoked like whatever's in Oleander's bowl, and they scatter. Most end up joining Fabius. He duels the Shadow Serial Bellwalker and gets the jump on him for a quick W. They leave and Fabius dies symbolically in the command throne as possibly the emerging King of Feathers. The destiny the Harlequins are trying to push him towards for the greater story. Primogenitor by Joss Reynolds gets 10 out of 10 Demonettes. It's an amazing book with amazing characters and setup. And just knowing where the rest of the trilogy leads makes this one even better. So I hope you liked the review. Clone Lord is next. Hopefully that review doesn't take me more than a month to make. Tell me what you thought about the book, who's your favorite character, and if it's not Fabius, what the hell is wrong with you? This is Ave Dominus Noob saying Ave Dominus Nox.